Hello, this is Travis Olson. This is my Module 12 case study. Here we are, Section 1, summarizing some of the facts. St. Regis, rural, small town, small school, small budget, which could come into effect later, and why some of this stuff is happening. We just got a new computer lab, yay! Worked hard to fundraise and get a computer lab that has so far been a success. Teachers, students are using it correctly, and it's becoming a valuable educational tool. Don't have a computer lab teacher, so Miss Lynn, our library media specialist, is kind of in charge of the scheduling, doing all that stuff. They got some new software for it. This is the dilemma now. They got some new software for the computer lab only, and some of the grade level teachers have requested that some of that software get put on their individual computers in their classrooms, because it could benefit some kids. So Mrs. Lynn says, yep, let's do it. Puts it on a flash drive and starts distributing it. Mrs. Brandon, who knows her copyright laws, says that might be a problem and didn't feel comfortable receiving that. So she goes to Mr. Sample, our principal, says, do something about this. I don't feel comfortable. I think the law's being broken. And so Mr. Sample is investigating, figuring out what needs to be done. Legal, ethical issues. We think copyright laws have been broken. Purchase program is illegally distributed without publisher's consent. Some teachers willingly broke the law. Mrs. Lynn kind of says so. Says, I don't even care if it's against the law, it's saving us money. And then some teachers unknowingly who received it may just be like, yeah, sure, it's going to help our class. Let's take it. Either way, they both could be held accountable. Some ethical issues for Mr. Sample would be, yeah, I know this is wrong, but it's going to save us money. We're on a tight budget. Mrs. Lynn says, even quoted as saying, we're St. Regis. We're 25 miles. No one's going to care. That's a problem. Although her intention is next. Our children deserve the best. And this program's already been purchased, 25 times for the computers in the lab? What's the harm in distributing it to 5 or 10 more computers? No big deal. Back to the children deserve the best. I think that's an important aspect because I really do think Mrs. Lynn is trying to promote academic success and well-being of students. She wants what's best for them. Now, is teaching them to illegally distribute something the best for them? I don't know. They're probably not going to find out, but we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard, especially as a principal. Hopefully Mr. Sample is trying to do this for his staff so they can do it to the students. Here's our Section 3 synthesis. Mr. Sample, as building administrator, has the responsibility to effectively evaluate any circumstance in his building, including copyright laws that could impact the school and community, and to resolve those issues, adhering to district policies, modeling professional behavior, and seeking to maintain a cohesive building staff. Okay, some of the facts. We've gone over some of this. Some people that we have here. Mr. Sample, principal, Mrs. Lynn, the librarian, Mrs. Brandon, she's the one who kind of said she didn't want it, refused the program. Mrs. Evans helped distribute it. Mrs. Williams received it. We got St. Regis, talked about that. Small school, 400 students, skipping down to the bottom, tight budget. This is kind of the crux of the problem, at least for Mrs. Lynn. She knows they don't have much money, so she thinks that she can save them money getting something that the students need. So she bends the rules a little bit. And this is why it happens. Review and prioritize information. Could this conflict in situation or the decision be damaging to stakeholders? Yes. We could be found guilty of copyright laws. Could damage the school's reputation, principal's reputation. In addition, it could cause teachers and principals to lose jobs and or pay if it goes unchecked. Just a lot of fines, a lot of bad things that could happen if this isn't nipped in the bud. Who, what individuals and groups have an important stake in the outcome? Everybody, principals, teachers, students, community. Specifically, Mrs. Lynn and Mr. Sample could be like fired, I guess. But this is important for everybody. And what's really important is how Mr. Sample handles it. Yeah, it's one of the things as a principal in school should be promoting, this idea of better preparing students for beyond school. Well, here's a perfect example of how to do that, of how to show them that we must have integrity in the things we do. We know the rules, we will follow the rules. Have all relevant stakeholders been consulted? I don't know. It doesn't necessarily tell us, but hopefully he's communicating with the superintendent and school board, and even other team leaders. Can I learn more about the situation? I think it would be helpful for Mr. Sample to learn more about copyright laws, specifically district policies, and find out, hey, is this actually against the law? We've all kind of done the VHS thing where you rent a movie and you copy it so you have it. Was that illegal? I don't know. I don't think so. It was if we tried to distribute it or sell it, but just making a copy of it, I don't know. Maybe it was. I'm not trying to say that this whole situation isn't against the law. I'm just saying let's find out exactly what the laws say and how we can deal with this effectively. And if we do that, like this bottom point, then yes, we should have enough information to make a decision. Section 6. Here's some options. There's plenty of other options, but these were 3 most black and white options I could find or came up with. Do nothing. If you do nothing, you risk a lot of legal ramifications. You could be fined by the publisher, by the state. You could lose your job. In addition, big one for a principal is the staff might be out of control. They think they can do whatever they want, and you're not going to care. So that wouldn't be good. Medium response, address Mrs. Lynn, stop distributing this, remove all of the illegally made copies, keep the purchased ones, so you still get those, and then very important to review the copyright laws with the staff, make sure that they know what's right, what's wrong in this case. And then the strict response. Confront Mrs. Lynn, fire her for her actions and for her disregard, her actual blatant disregard of the laws, which she said she didn't care, she just wanted to save money. That's a pretty strict response. Some of the consequences could be that it creates a rift in the building. Maybe teachers don't think you have their back. Oh, one mistake and I'm done, even though I was a valued member of this community and team. That couldn't be good. That could be bad news. So Mr. Sample's got his work cut out for him. Let's evaluate those options. Do nothing. Hey, could go unnoticed and we could get it free. Awesome. Thumbs up, right? Probably not. Save the district money. Students utilize educational software, which is good for them. It's helpful to them. A con, they may get fined. Definitely shows a lack of integrity. Mr. Sample loses standing and sets a really bad precedent. Teachers can do whatever they want, and they won't be checked on it. The medium response, illegal software is removed. Principal shows he follows the rules. He's not willing to compromise the school's integrity. That's good. You get to keep Mrs. Lynn, who's a good teacher. Shows a good example to the students and staff. And this one I like. Opportunity to work together to raise funds, just like they did for the computer lab. It could be a community building thing. Hey, we need these programs and they're beneficial to us. How can we work together to raise money for them? Can we shift things around in our budget? It could help some problem solving. Some cons of that, students lose software. Mrs. Lynn could be embarrassed. And you lose an opportunity, albeit an illegal opportunity, to save money for the school. School, strict response, schools probably absolved from all wrongdoing. Hey, we didn't know this was going on. Boom, I cut it down, shot it down, it's done. Sets a good example of following the rules to students and staff. Principal shows he's not messing around, unwilling to compromise. Cons, good teachers will be fired. Software is lost. Great. Moving on. I chose the middle ground, the medium response. I think it addresses everything we need it to. Mrs. Lin stops distributing this. The illegal stuff's removed. She's warned. And one of the most important things is that staff is made more aware of copyright laws and just following the rules. When you don't know, ask. That's what the administrator is there for. How can we get this problem solved, Mr. Sample? We don't have the money. What can we do? And maybe he can help you come up with an idea. I think that would be open lines of communication there, and that would be good. So as long as we've consulted all stakeholders, the board, the superintendent, team, community, and come up with some new ideas, I think this was the correct course of action that Mr. Sample determined after doing all those things. Imagine implementing your decision. Choose your path. Chose the medium response. Mrs. Lin might be upset for getting reprimanded or warned, but the benefit of stopping this right now really outweighs not doing anything about it, because you could have a lot of legal ramifications. Who needs to know? Superintendent, board, staff, publisher. I think it could be a good idea to contact the publisher and say that this happened, just to get out ahead of it, just in case it comes back to bite you. Determine if you deal with this. It's an interesting one, but I think anytime you're dealing with any warning or reprimand, it's a good idea to have somebody else in a meeting with you, just so things aren't miscommunicated or there's not false claims. Warn, don't threaten. There's no need to threaten her. Say, you do a great job. This was a mistake. Let's move on from it. If that happens again, it could be bad, but just come to me. That's what we're here for as administrators, to help you out. If you have questions, to find answers. And then think about what you might do. I don't see Mrs. Lin really pushing back, because she clearly broke the rules. She even said she was breaking the rules. But, again, having other people there beside you communicate, like maybe as a middleman or a mediator, I guess, in a meeting is helpful, just so they're aware of what was said. Working with the school board and the superintendent to get ahead of any legal actions. In addition, now would be a good time to make sure your board policies are up to date and addressing some of these things that could come up, just so that you're all on the same page and there's something to fall back on. It's not always, oh, Mr. Sample did this or Mr. Sample did that. It's our board policies say this, therefore this is my decision. And some of those other things, just to add on, I think what Mr. Sample could really help himself out with is, helping teachers figure out other ways to get funds, to brainstorm creative new ideas, create these positive working environments for their students where, hey, I think this program is going to be really good for our students. How can we get this in my room? And if they're pursuing these new approaches, I think you're going to have a successful classroom and a successful school. So hopefully Mr. Sample's learning something from this and how he can continue to push his staff and make this a correct decision, so it doesn't kind of break anything apart and that cohesiveness apart, because he's established himself pretty well, even as a newcomer. Hopefully he can make a right decision. Yep, and I think that's it. My reference page is right here, and I appreciate y'all watching, and thank you very much.